In this section, I'm going to talk about fluid viscosity, what it is and why it's important. Okay, so if we look at the fluid flow in the pipe, and you've seen this before for laminar flow, so all the lines are nicely ordered. Now, if we consider two of those streamlines in the fluid, then if we say the bottom one has velocity c, and the one above has a slightly higher velocity, because if you think about what's happening in here, basically the fluid flowing down this pipe, the fluid at the wall has to have zero velocity because it's on the fluid wall, and because of this so-called no slip condition, the fluid that's on the wall has the velocity of the wall, and if that wall is stationary, which it is here for this pipe, then the fluid there is stationary, and it goes up to a peak velocity in the middle. So between each of these layers there's this slight differential in speed, and because you have this slight differential in speed, what it means is you have one layer which is sliding over the top of the other. And if you have one layer that's sliding over the top of the other, same as you would in, you think about sheets of metal or wood together, you kind of have that resistive force as they're trying to slide over each other. And that resistive force will create a shear stress. So that's the equation we've got here. So the shear stress kind of between these two layers is a function of the change in velocity with the change in radial position, and it's all times by this constant here, which is the viscosity. And so this is kind of how the viscosity is defined in terms of the shear force and relative motion of these layers. Now, for most applications, a variation of this shear stress with the change in velocity is linear. In other words, it's Newtonian. So regardless of the fluid velocity, with the change in radial position, the viscosity stays the same. However, for some fluids, and particularly, I guess, more accurately kind of defined as suspensions, these can be non-Newtonian. So in other words, their viscosity isn't linear, and a good example of this is blood, and that's a non-Newtonian fluid. Okay, so this is generally what we mean we're talking about when we're talking about viscosity. It's that resistive force as one fluid tries to flow over another. So if you think of one fluid which has a high viscosity, and I talked about honey earlier, so you perhaps know from experience that honey is more resistive to a change in motion. It's much thicker, perhaps is a common word for it, but it's more viscous compared to, say, water, which is can be poured out a lot more easily, and it's to do with this resistive force against this relative change in motion. So viscosity is generally independent of pressure for most fluids, but it's strongly dependent on temperature. Generally, as you heat the fluid up, the viscosity will decrease. And there are actually two ways of defining viscosity. There's dynamic or absolute viscosity, which is what I've been talking about up to now, and that's represented by the Greek letter mu. That's letter M spelled mu, and this has the SI units of Pascal seconds, or kilograms per meter per second. But it can also be defined in terms of kinematic viscosity, and that has the Greek letter nu, spelled Nu, and the units of this are meters squared per second, or more commonly it's defined as centistokes. And 1 centistoke is millimeters squared per second. But the two are related, so you should notice that the kinematic viscosity is equal to the dynamic viscosity divided by the density of the fluid. So therefore, we can write Reynolds number either in terms of mu or nu. Okay, and you can see because nu is equal to mu over density, then obviously density term disappears. So we've mentioned the Reynolds number before, and we've talked about different regimes of flow, and I showed you the video of the pipe where the flow changed from laminar and transitioned into turbulent, and this number, the Reynolds number, does actually define when that happens. So you can see in the table here. So if the flow is laminar, then it will have a Reynolds number less than 2000. Okay, so you can use this as a threshold to determine which flow regime you've got, and this is important in terms of the pressure loss, and we'll talk about that later on in this lecture and in the next lecture. Now, if the Reynolds number is between 2000 and 3000, then the flow is in this critical transitional region. But once it gets above 3000, then it's either partially or fully turbulent flow.